Okay. Welcome, everyone. It is your shaman, your sister in spirit, and your friend Alicia Dunleavy here with my dear friend Devin. Today, we are going to be chatting and sharing a few insights. A few gems are going to be popping out today. And one topic that I wanted to really discuss and hone in on is an embodied practice and what that looks like, and how Devin has helped me be the person that I am today by her embodying her true self, her most authentic self. Before we get into it today, we are going to open with a little bit of grounding, centering through breath and prayer. And then we will allow Devin to go ahead and introduce herself, and we can dive right in. So, everybody would just love to ground, taking a nice deep breath in, exhaling all the way out, really allowing that exhale to go, 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 go. And then now taking our nice full inhale here. Exhaling out whenever that feels right for you, and then balancing out your breath as I open this beautiful ceremony through prayer. It's everything that is, everything that was, and everything that will be. I'm so grateful for this moment. I hope that the wisdom, this friendship, this love that is coming out through this video ripples all throughout time. I'm so grateful for Devin and everything that she has taught me. And I'm so thankful to share this message with the world and to everybody who finds it. I ask that for the greatest and highest good, to the harm of none, that we be able to show up authentically. And I know that for you, great spirit, and all that is more than enough. So thank you so much for allowing this moment of inspiration to come through. Please continue to bless us and honor us in all of the most magnificent and inspirational and loving and abundant ways. To all that are here, to all that are watching, to all that will watch, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is done. Amen. Ashe. Thank you. And just allowing the breath to flow in and out here a little bit. Maybe the body wants to move a little. A part of me just wants to start laughing, but
I'll laugh.
so here we are.
Okay.
So who are you?
Oh, hey guys, if you don't know me, I am Devin Ashmore. I was going back and forth with Alicia a little bit just about this fact of I've been really embodying, not really knowing, like putting myself in a box lately. I just feel like I have like a lot of different trades, a lot of different things that I do. But I do see that the through line is like artistic living, but embodying life as an art piece, as we like had chatted about. So, I've been a yoga facilitator. I love facilitating healing for people. Reiki. I went to school for photography, paused on that for years, like bringing that back around. So, yeah, I just kind of beep bop around, and whatever feels like the best embodiment of like what I have to offer, that's what I do. So there we go. That wasn't
Yeah,
bad.
that was brilliant.
Oh, cool.
Like, that was brilliant. So the reason why, I'm sure, like, just through that intro, some of you guys can see why I wanted to bring Devin on here, like that concept of like her life really being her art, how she shows up inside of the flow of her life. And that also kind of, with the concept of like yoga, right, as well. How do we get into a flow? And Devin is such a beautiful embodiment of like, okay, I am completely me with all of my stuff, with all the things that I will be, and I'm flowing and I'm going, and I'm not really going to put myself inside of this box, which for me has been difficult to do. I feel like a lot of people can relate to that. It's like we have this vision of who we are. We kind of live in a society where we are told what we need to look like, what looks good, what feels right, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. And it really begins to create some kind of framework for certain terms that mean a lot to us, that we want, right? Like happiness, it looks a certain way. abundance, it looks a certain way. Wealth and success, it looks a certain way, you know? And as we continue to get conditioned by what the terms and conditions of society of what this looks like, it really can disconnect us from what an authentic embodiment really is, and the pressure that comes from stepping outside of the box and other people's sometimes extreme judgments of like,
Mhm.
oh, you're not doing it right. That's not
Oof.
how you're
Yeah.
supposed to be, you know? Oh, I can't be around you because, you know, you're this is too out of the box for me. This is too wild for me, you
Yeah.
know? And but then also from my work, how many people are suffering and suffocating inside of their boxes,
Yeah.
you know? And I was one of them. And meeting you really allowed me to witness how to be courageous, you know? Like
Yeah.
you taught me that there is going to be some pushback. There is going to be some discomfort in fully expressing myself in the ways that feel accurate for me. Um, and because I just love you, what it made me realize also is that I am capable of loving all of these things, you know, that make me uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
I'm okay. It's okay for me to love it. It's okay for me to look at it. It's okay for me to embody it. That it is going to make some people uncomfortable. It is going to cause some cognitive dissonance inside of people.
Mhm.
But as long, and the thing that I love about you is that I feel like you're not pushing people. It's not even like you're like, I'm gonna push people's buttons today. You're just being yourself.
I know. And it's been a lot, like it's been a road. As you were saying that about like jumping out of like the box and like doing things out of the box, let's say, I just was thinking about like when I transitioned into like, I mean, I've always been an artist. I danced and then, you know, went into photography and then painting. But when I started doing yoga and got in the wellness community, it was almost like freeing in some ways. But then, like, the interesting thing is we have these boxes for all of the out of the box things too, because I feel like as humans, we kind of just do that. Like we need a framework. So we formulate one, and like anything, I feel like that's our old, like our fight or flight brain almost. Like this is almost like a survival thing, but we implement it in like the modern world in places that maybe we don't need to be. Not to go off on that rant, but
Please do.
just this idea though of like, damn it, I'm still ruffling feathers and I thought I was in a place where I was safe to be me. And it's like, okay, so like only parts of me can exist in certain places, and then like without triggering people, like it's going to happen no matter what. But like for me it was so painful to try to fit in a box. Like it really, like, it makes my nervous system go crazy, and I'm sure a lot of people feel that way too and they're doing it every day. And like the idea of it being courageous, it is, but for me, like really like trying to smash myself into something, or if something just doesn't, like in my feeling body, like it's like not lining up, like that's why it's like embodiment all the time, because like if it feels wrong and I can't, it's just like I just like feel energetically sick from it. So I have to like always be like me all the time. And sometimes it is a wild girl. Sometimes I'm herming out, like people don't see me or hear from me for months. You know, it just, but I embody each thing completely, and it does trigger people like one way or the other. Like you really can't control that. I guess just with time it gets easier, but it's still scary. Like I still care what people think. I have like made decisions based off of what people told me I should be doing for success or for money, and like I couldn't keep up with it long because it just didn't feel right for me. um you know, so it's still hard. And I think people sometimes will look and be like, oh, like so carefree. It's like, oh, if you only knew, buddy, like I have so many cares. Like I care so much, but I also care so much because I feel so much. And it's like I can't allow myself to feel sick for other people, even if it kind of sucks to sometimes, because I want accepted. I want love, like everybody. We're all human, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I love how you brought up this piece of like, it makes me feel sick, right? Like
Yeah.
in body, like can we talk about that? Like, let's talk about when we are not embodying our most authentic self, how it can literally manifest in physical illness, right?
Mm-hmm.
um I feel like when I this is kind of like jumping into the clairs, right? Jumping into our psychic, our intuition. Like when we're doing things that feel out of alignment with us, we can feel these pains, these sicknesses, these discomforts. And how many times I know within my world, I just kept pushing through those
Mm-hmm.
discomforts. It's like, that's okay. I feel uncomfortable, but I'm still going to do these things that are going against my natural instinct or my intuition, and how all of that can catalyst um like legit illness, like, and disease, you
And
know.
just because we have this framework around like this is how we're supposed to do this thing and this is how it's supposed to feel. So we're like shaming ourselves and to be like, oh, I feel this thing, but like it's not right. So fuck it. Like I'm not gonna feel that thing. And then what's gonna happen? Just
Right,
like you said, it can come out physically.
right. And how even through that, an embodied practice, and I hope that people can keep up with this, because it's just kind of like unlocking like a Pandora's box inside of my head. But even when we
I feel
do feel a certain huh.
I can feel, but I was like, whoa, I feel kind of my crown feels like it's buzzing a little bit as we're talking about this. So yeah, definitely.
Let me ground a little.
Yeah.
But also thinking about how, when that discomfort comes up, how an embodied practice can help move that through you, so that you can intellectually, inside of mind, body, and spirit, have a bigger grasp of like, what was that discomfort about, right? Sometimes when it comes to belief systems, we truly can't intellectualize it because of um like you said, that fight or flight response that can happen whenever we experience like a cognitive dissonance, right? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
ooh. So to get into the body and embody, or do an embodied practice, can help us take the edge off of that fight or flight response, so that way we can actually sit
And even be
inside of the
aware of it.
discomfort.
Like how many of us are actually super uncomfortable, but we're so used to it and we aren't like when I say embodied, like even just of like feeling being connected to and feeling what's happening in your body when things in your life are happening. Like a lot of us don't even feel that. And that's why yoga and breath are so important because once you start doing that, then you start to like be in life and you're like, oh, what the fuck was that? Like, I don't feel good right now. When maybe like a couple months before your practice, you would have been like, fine, just because you didn't notice it and you just know how to like shut it out and you're literally locked off from your body.
Right.
So it's like awareness. And then it's like, oh, at first it might be like, cool. Like I know there's been times of like big embodiment, like unlocking moments. And I had been doing yoga forever. Like the epiphany of like, whoa, all these symptoms I'm having was, you know, PTSD at the time. Like that was a like it almost made me feel more out of whack for a while, but like in reality, like being more aware of it, then it takes the edge off, then you notice it and then you're able to like use the tools. So it's like sometimes I think people start with like meditation or yoga or like whatever and like that first like actually being connected to your body sometimes doesn't feel great at first. And that's like it's not all love and light out here with it. Like, you know, this is about like being invested in embodied living means embodying every feeling that you're feeling and learning from it and navigating through. But you have to be in touch, you have to be able to you have to be vulnerable and open enough to feel. And like
Mm.
yoga breath helps that, right?
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Oh, that buzzer came right down and through.
Yes, it did. Oh my gosh. So then whenever you say that, the first thing that came to my mind was like, some of y'all aren't even experiencing the true expression of pleasure and joy, because you're also afraid
Afraid to
to
feel
embody your
anything.
feelings. Yes. It's like that extreme, like, okay, like I'm not allowed to feel anger or upset or discomfort. Like I just have to put it into the box. Well, if you're not willing to experience the extremes of one, there's a high probability that you're not feeling the extremes of other, which, yeah, like you said, like there is this, when you're inside of the framework, there is this kind of like shattering that happens to where you're kind of like swinging into the extreme, and it's like,
Yeah.
or it's perceived that way because
Mm-hmm.
you
And
haven't
when
done it before. It's not actually that extreme. It's just you're not used to it. So
I
it
mean,
feels like you're going to an extreme, and then it's like, but then also you have this opportunity to swing back, to swing the other way. But is that other, like how I had said, like I feel like laughing right now. And I kind of did, but I didn't laugh as hard and as loud as I actually felt I wanted to at the moment, because there's a framework inside of me that's like, I'm an adult. There's a certain level of like poise and like control. Like, what
mhm.
was I going to be laughing about? Like, just because I felt it in my body. And the answer is yes. That's why I
Yeah,
done it. Because my body felt that way, and
right.
allowed to be free without that framework of like, well, that's not mature. It's
Yeah.
like, you felt like laughing, sis. Like, what's the big deal? Who cares? But for some of us within our belief systems, within our frameworks, it does feel like, oh, I can't just start like hysterically laughing. There
Well,
was not.
also other people sometimes uncomfortable when like for me, like I still resist that stuff. It's not like I'm all like I mean, I know I'm out here and I am myself, but at the same time there are moments where I subconsciously it's like that pack mentality of like, oh, if what if I'm too much? Like that's something I've really as much as I'll unlayer that, that'll probably always be there. And again, it's like a human thing to like want your tribe. So it's like if I'm too much, I don't want to be the banished lone wolf. I don't want to be the witch up on the hill that no one, everyone's scared of, but when they really need something, they come they come up to the hill and see me, like I don't want it to feel like that because
Right.
I love community. But I feel like that was a side thought.
No, I love that. That's
Else
that's so
there.
accurate. So, um, I do want to, because I'm this is just me like creating boundaries, right? Like I do
Yes.
want to ask you specifically, like what to you is an embodied practice, and I would love to just like hone in on that. However, I did want to touch on this wording, this verbiage that we're using, where it's like, I know Devin's wild. Number one, all of you, to give you all some context, we live in a very small town, a very small conservative town in West Virginia. So like Devin
Yeah, when
really
I
is
lived
not
in
that
Pittsburgh, I
wild.
fit
Like,
right
I don't,
in. I
I
was
do,
tame.
like, we live here. I don't feel like you're that wild.
I make very smart decisions for myself for the most part. Like
Right.
I made a couple, I can be a little impulsive, but like I really actually do think things out. And if like, if it doesn't feel right, I just don't do it. And usually it's usually life is like a hard no for a lot of things. But like, I don't know, I feel safe and comfortable within myself. So I'm able to go out, dance for a bit and be like, I'm going home. See ya, everybody, like, but I'm one of the only people like really being freely dancing. Like, I mean, me and Alicia just went out dancing for the first time ever and we were both just dancing, having a great time. We were with a few other friends, but like the majority of the people at this place that's known for the DJs and the dancing, most people were just standing around drinking. So like, you know, I don't know, I still went home, but at the same time, like the way people saw me, they're like, man, I mean, who knows what they thought? I don't really know. I don't really care. But this conception of expression being wild in a way that has a negative connotation, like it's just, I mean, I've dealt with it my whole life. And it's just like, I don't think I'm not wild anyway. Like I'm the tamest wild person you'll probably meet. Like I have
Right.
self-control. I don't know.
Right. Right. So, again, like where, who gets to determine what wild is? And especially because, like, again, we're in such a small town in West Virginia. Like, just to be clear, it's not Virginia. We don't live in Virginia. We live in West Virginia,
And
which is its own
barely
state.
any
A lot of people aren't aware of that totally. So, like,
and
for
barely
those of you that may
anyway.
not know, like, this is a whole different vibe over here in Mountain Mama. Okay. But
Very
when comparatively we are thinking about the entire world, what is wild?
yeah.
Seriously, guys, I want you to think about this. Like, each town, not just in the US do we have a collective consciousness. Within each state of the US, we have a collective, like there's a collective consciousness. Within each little town or county, there's a whole different collective, like boundary system, tribal belief system that's in place. Now we spread it not just within the US, but like the Western Hemisphere, the Eastern, the Northern Hemisphere, the stuff like
It's
there is no
all
framework.
so no.
It exists in the mind. It doesn't literally exist. We are free to be who we are, right? So when we use words like we're wild, like my middle name is Wildflower, like to some people in my family, I am like way out there. But like to a lot of people, a lot of my friends are like, oh my God, do you do anything? Like you just stay. Devin's like, I don't want to be the witch on the hilltop.
You're like, please.
I'm like, yo, I call myself the shaman on the hilltop because I'll just chill up here when you guys need me, let me know, which isn't my complete truth, but like there is a whole part of me that's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I just like want to be up here and I'm chilling, you know?
Yeah.
So but it's funny, like what is wild? What does that even actually mean? Um, and how do we then, when we hear this concept of like, oh wow, you're right. Like when I think about 8 billion people on this planet, and each of us like really being able to define what wild is, then what who am I and what do I believe and how do I embody that?
Yeah, because it's going to be different for everybody because everybody's wild, you think, be different. Because if we think of like even rewilding and stuff like outside, it's about letting things be what they are and leaving them alone and not interacting with it and stuff. So it's like, how can I look at myself? What is me being wild? What is me? Who, which part is Devin that isn't actually acting any type of way based off of anything or anybody else, you know?
Love that.
So sometimes I guess being wild, but in the wild too, there's rest periods. It's like, so how do you completely embody yourself? I think it changes all the time. Like, that's why I have a hard time pinning things down because I truly believe that's like the reason of like in my lifetime of being alive is to really be alive, explore what that means in all the ways. I think that some of the cards that I have been dealt has helped with that, with like experiencing such great loss and like feeling like being forced to feel to that level. It's like none of this shit, a lot of the shit really is made up in the mind. And as much as I want community and as much as I do care what other people think, and sometimes my behavior might change based off of that, it's like, but not, it's just like not worth it. So it's like it'll happen, but it's like my whole point feels like is trying to figure out how to be a full expression of me all the time. And also allowing that to fluctuate, like not being like, no, Devin, you're this girl who like, last year danced in her underwear or brought the pull out like 12 times that year. And now it's been a year and I just don't feel like putting my pull up. So I just haven't. And I've been embodying that piece of me a little bit differently. Sometimes I want to show the world and express myself as an art form. Sometimes it's just fucking for me. And that's why it's like yoga movement in general. Sometimes I think I fluctuate because some of this at the end of the day is for me and I need to allow it to be for me. That's a whole other thing.
Love that. No, that's perfect. I think that that needed to be heard because I can totally relate to that. And you kind of hit that point, like what is embodiment? Like that was it, you know,
Right.
flowing through all of these things. And like when we practice yoga, what like as teachers, as students of yoga, like what are we taught? We're taught to like go with the flow, feel the pain, feel the emotions coming up, listening to your body, honoring your experience, right? Like we don't go to yoga classes to be told, okay, up dog, down dog, plank, vinyasa. Like we can go through that. But also, if you feel a pain in your wrist, you need to back off because that can cause pain. You not listening to your body can have long-term consequences,
Oh yeah.
or karma to that. If you feel like you need to cry, like let it out. If you have gas, like let it out, like really embodying the whole experience on the mat.
And it's
And
going to
then
be different every time and being able to like your chatter like with the wrist thing, like I used to be like, I mean, I was a dancer forever. There's a competitive edge. There's wanting to be the best at everything. That's something that's always, I'm very controlled about it now, but like, it's just like you had to be that way. And then a super tough skin. So it's like I believe in myself so much. It doesn't matter what anybody says. Like, I don't care if I'm not the best in this room this time, whatever then. And then I just like work my ass off. But like, so coming to yoga and then like I ended up having a wrist injury and it forced me to do gentle yoga. And it was like, and then I had to teach gentle yoga because that's what everybody in this area wanted. But I was fucking hardcore. I was doing all the hard shit. And my wrists though, like even before I injured it, like they would get weak. It's like too much. If you're going to yoga 5 times a week and if you're like that class wasn't hard enough and you go home and do a whole like rocket series, it's like crazy a little bit, but it's like, oh, I'm being in my body, but am I listening to it? Oh, I don't like what it says, so I'm just gonna push through. No. Now, like, okay, let's think really you learn more. And I think this is like a yoga teacher thing. You start to learn like what muscle groups you're using. And if you want to use those muscle groups, there's other options because you have to learn those things for everybody on their different levels. And then you're like, oh shit, like I like my knees down for a chaturanga. Or I don't even want to. I want a knees, chest, chin it to a cobra. Like I don't ever up dog. It feels so bad on my lower back, even done properly. It's still really tight in that space. I have lower back arthritis. Why would I be doing that? Why? That's like compressing it unless I'm literally doing it perfect every time. Then what? We have a half a breath to be an up dog and then race the down dog. It's like I was always like a breath or two behind people, some like with the power classes, because it just doesn't feel safe in my body. You have to like, you don't have to honor it, but I don't know if you want to go the other way.
Right. Right. So then applying those things to life. We practice on the mat so that way we can take our embodied practice off of the mat and our life becomes the mat of that. And I feel like that is something that you do, right? Ooh, I don't like being around this person. That something in my body is saying, ugh. Something about this place is saying, ugh, right? So like you're saying, like, why would I be an up dog when I know that my arthritis in my back is going to flare up or when my wrist flares up? Why do I keep putting myself in this situation that I dead ass fucking know is not for my complete well-being?
And it's hard to do. Like it's
It
hard
is
to
hard
do
to
on
do.
the mat in regular life. I mean, it can take me years to stop being in a situation I knew I shouldn't have been in because it's like, why am I not trusting my intuition? It comes down to those human wounds of wanting connection in people and things in your life. And I just like, it's just wild because it's like I do make those hard decisions, but they were some like this year I made some hard decisions like that towards the beginning of the year. And it felt so bad at first because it was like I don't want to do this, but I had a soul retrieval with you and then something in me changed and it was just like I am absolutely not loving myself if I continue to do these things and like I cannot keep doing this. I'm giving pieces of my literally my soul away to things that it's just no. Like once I got some pieces of me back and like not that no one's ever having them again, but kind of. It's like no, these were meant to always stay with me. Like you're not, so and then it's like trying to go back to like swinging from like both sides of things with the like embodied practices in the boxes, like swinging one way and then swinging the other. I feel like I went through this just phase of like I went straight back, I like dived back into like humanness and just was like I just don't give a fuck. I'm being extremely human, period. Like after I made those decisions. It was like I didn't feel like I had to like be this wellness, like I don't know. It's like there was a box around that I had to be a certain way. And it was like, but I don't want to give up my human self to be this person. So now I've just dipped, I just went like I was like back into life, regular life. And it's honestly been so great because we're humans and we're meant to be fucking human and the spiritual shit happens in the human shit anyway. So it's like I was like thinking I had to stay up here, but up here is not better or worse than down here. This needs to like kind of like facilitate and like make sure you're kind of staying on the right path while you're doing this shit. Like you're never going to learn and you're never going to unlock these pieces if you're not like in your human life and embodying these lessons, embodying
Right.
these messages from spirit and making decisions in your real life based off these things.
Right. And I love how you did this and this, right? Crown to root. Root is all about body, in body. Like,
Yep.
yes, we have to, the whole system, the system in whole is not just spiritual woo woo, keeping it up in the head, keeping it up here. There is a part of you absolutely is rooted and grounded and embodied. And so there does have to be this flow of that in order for our experience in this lifetime to be whole and complete and fulfilled, you
And
know?
I think something that happened with me, and I'm sure it happens to other people who go into the wellness industry, they become yoga teachers or they're just becoming more spiritual or whatever. It's like, oh, but when I come back into my human self, I make the same mistakes. And it's like, is it a mistake though? Is it a mistake? Is it a mistake to act with your shadow sometimes? Is it a mistake for your ego to come out, or does it show you a piece of yourself? You have to learn how to love that piece because you think it doesn't make you worthy to be this spiritual person, but it's to it's so that you can deepen spiritually. Like I truly do
Yes.
feel I get in my head sometimes because I'm like so human, but I do feel like the depth of all of my spiritual like life epiphanies, the things that I do want to share with people come from being human. That's where it all happens. So like to be afraid to jump in and do it, you're going to make mistakes again. You're going to make the decision you made before because I'm sure you made it 100 times and it takes time and it takes saying, you know what, I'm going to take this different path this time and see where it takes me or not and see what I need to learn from it. I just think it's like we put so much weight in like our mistakes, but it's like I just live. Like
Right.
just
Right.
live.
And even whenever, so it makes me want to like touch back to something that I had said, like the energy of like, why do I do this? Like, why do I know my wrist hurts. Why am I doing an up dog? Why am I doing a down dog? It's painful. Applying that to life. Why am I doing this? Like the aggressiveness of my voice, I want to like very much call myself out right now, has hints of shame in it. Has hints of like,
Yeah.
yeah, has hints of shame and just like aggressiveness. So what I would love to invite people to recognize, like as you continued your journey, is like, ooh, why do I do this?
Yeah.
Why do I do this? That is the essence. Asking the question is okay, but
Mm-hmm.
are we asking the question in order to perpetuate self-criticism, or
Yeah.
are we asking the question to build momentum towards depth of self-awareness in order for us to attain like a certain level of consciousness and enlightenment, and so that way we can share it to the world. It doesn't mean like, oh, I made a mistake, look at me doing up dog again. It's like, ooh, okay, now I'm sitting in savasana and my wrist is sore. what
Mm-hmm.
what what did I do? Oh, I did up dog again. Okay. Was I not paying attention to how my wrist was feeling? Probably. Okay. Why did I do that? And if I'm applying it to life, it's like, ooh, I went and I did this thing and now I feel kind of shitty. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, it's okay that you feel shitty. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so what did you learn? Why did
Yeah.
you do that? What did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about this? And it's like, okay, I learned this. Okay. So I'm
It's
not
really
saying I'm never
unlocking
going to
the
do it again.
biggest part
Huh?
because when you feel it, you feel like shit, and then you're like, oh, this is bad. But being in like to get past that, like that's really hard. Like that takes a long time. Like I think I think we all still do it. And I don't know if we'll ever stop, but like just getting more practice at noticing it. But like that feeling like I feel bad, the shame is the hardest part. If you can get past the shame, and like when we were talking, like as you were talking, I was thinking about like the tone. So like if the tone is like, why the fuck would you do that? What the hell? How can I, and how your voice changed and it was more playful, it was curious, it was open. Like how can we, is play the key in some ways, like how can we be more playful with ourselves? Do we take ourselves too seriously all the time? Like,
Right.
and that's why we're ashamed, because the part that thinks that we need to be serious and right and nobody can say anything bad about us all the time, it's like in charge. But what about that? That's why there's all this inner child things. Like everybody wants to do work with their inner child, because it's so hard for us as adults to just be playful and playful with ourselves. Maybe that's the key. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and then when we think about it, we're putting to school at 5 years old where it's all about work.
Yeah.
So we really are conditioned. And again, I'm not saying, I'm not out here being like, they did this on purpose. I'm just bringing this to awareness. Like literally from the age of 5, we have been put in a controlled setting for us to
Very
learn how to work.
Yep.
And it did disconnect us from the value of play. And so yeah, like you said, a lot of us are trying to like figure out like, damn, like, is it safe to play, or does it make me less productive? Does it like make me less valuable? Does it make me less, capable of doing things? But at the very source of education, what we find is that like play is it. Like play is how the brain develops. It's healthy for
It's
the body, it's
expression.
healthy for the brain. It
Mhm.
just it
Like
is
at,
really everything.
at a desk at 5, like Anna's 5. She's at school. This is her first day back. She was anxious to go back. She does love it, but it's a lot of learning, a lot of sitting. It's very like overstimulating. If I don't bring her home and let her play, she sits and colors quietly, sings to herself, just gets to like have freedom. She is not, I like, if I take her somewhere, she has an attitude. She's back talking to me the whole time, and just because she just like, she's sick of it. She's sick of having to be anything. She just wants to go home and let it all out.
Mhm.
And I guess we all feel like that too. And then it's like, as adults, where does that go? And then we're getting shamed, even if it's a little bit, just to create discipline. Like I said, I'm not talking shit about school. I think it's great, but also like, in order to be the good kid in class, you have to be this thing in this box. And at that age, you really need people. Like, that's why like we have such hard, like psychologically with our parents and stuff. Like we need them to love us so that we can be alive. So at that
Mhm.
age, a lot of that is happening still. And like, I just think it gets repressed, and then we turn adults and we go out and we drink and our shadow comes out to play. That's why people don't dance, and they sit and they wait till they get drunk enough, and then they fucking start dancing and having a good time and not caring. But like, why can't we be that way? Why can't we, how, not why can't we, how can we pull that out and like really allow that to be expressed without those things? Or how do we just change our framework? Because like, a part of me dipping into my humanness was allowing my shadow to be out, because it wanted out and it was coming out, and it wasn't necessarily hurting anybody, but like, like my darker sensual side wants to come out, or like this or that. I was staying in home. There was nowhere for that to go. And like, so I was expressing, I was embodying, I was doing all these things on like this healing, like higher level version of working with this energy. But at the end of the day, who is Devin when she goes out and has a few drinks and her shadow does come out and it's not in a controlled space? Then what happens? Actually not that much. And like, I learned a lot about myself and like my wounds and things, like about like, or like how my energy is affected by other people. And I would have not have known those things if I wouldn't have just like dipped in, and then like feeling shame, but having 7, 8 years of awareness and checking in and doing this work and being like, oh, there's that again. And now I have to move through it, but really investigating why I feel that way. How do I get it out of my body? I don't want to end up anxious and depressed over like feeling rejected. Like I need to move through life, but I need to learn this and figure out how to find my worth again outside of this shadow feeling that my whole life brought me to this point. And it all starts with shit like you said, like being at 5, sitting in class, wanting to be the good kid, having to follow the rules, and like, and then if you do something that's like out of the norm, then it's like, ooh, you know, it's like, and that manifests in different parts of our lives. This is manifested in my work with being a yoga teacher, with romantic relationships, with family, with friends. Like, I really had to look, how does this this lesson creep up in my life, like in all these different ways? And it does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank God for paying a yoga and awareness and meditation, so I can at
Right.
least have some sort of mindfulness around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing everything. I mean, I cannot wait for people to hear this. Like, you have said so many powerful things for embodiment, and I would love to just honor the time,
Yeah.
because I want to do a part 2 with you where I'm really feeling called to like asking you what an embodied practice might look like
Yeah.
tangible things to ask people, either whether it's journaling, thinking, like what it is. I think there are a lot of things in here, but I would like to like really
Nail it
highlight
down.
you. Yeah, highlight you as a teacher, as a facilitator. So we're gonna end this video, part 1, with some self-affirmation. So would
Ooh.
you like me to go first? Would you
You go
like?
first so I can
Okay.
feel the vibe.
Feel the vibe? All right. Um, I'm so grateful for allowing myself to like really sleep in the past 2 days. Like wake up like right before I'm about to do something and just go with the flow. Um, I'm so proud of myself for um, showing up, showing up in my life, like setting goals and just and meeting them. But also, I want to recognize myself hearing the voice in the back of my head that's like, don't forget to rest. Like, don't forget to like move a little slower. I acknowledge that voice. I hear you. I love you. I cannot wait to engage with you very soon, like today in a couple of hours. Um, I'm proud of myself for I just love me. I love me so much. I'm proud of myself for going out with you, going out, against my nature. It was something I wanted to do, and it was just something that I don't think a lot of people would have expected me to do. I've told people a few times like, I went out with Devin. They go, "You did?" Like it's so like shocking. I'm like, "Yes, I did. I do that." So I'm proud of myself for getting out of my comfort zone and doing something with somebody that I love, and just having a good time. So
So we have 5 things.
I think I did 3, but I might have done 5.
Oh,
I don't know.
I couldn't remember if
I
you
always
said
love a little
5.
extra, you know?
No, hell yeah. Okay, 3 things I'm proud of myself for. As this year just wrapped up, I'm very proud of myself for setting boundaries this year. That has been big, and it's a very hard thing for me to do and a lot of people to do. So, um, props to me on that.
Round of applause.
And as I set boundaries, maybe with other people and in some ways myself, I also am proud of myself for not getting so stuck in that box that we talked about and overthinking the boxes, and just let my life flow and let things happen the way they did, rather than trying to control everything, because I am an anxious type and I definitely don't like feeling out of control unless it's in a controlled space.
Right.
So, there's that. Um, and I'm proud of myself for patience. I've been a lot more patient lately. And like my negative voice is like, yeah, right. But like I really have been, and I've caught myself so much where I normally would not be patient and just allowing things again to flow rather than try to get upset, get anxious, and so patience. Yeah, I'm glad for my patience. I'm proud of myself for practicing patience.
Yay! I love that. I love that. Well, I hope everybody had a great time listening in, getting to know Devin. Devin, is there any way for people to get in contact with you? Like if people wanted to, people who haven't been in contact with you, how can they?
Yeah, there's my email and my Instagram. So is there like gonna be a little like show notes that we could just
Yeah,
like,
I can do that.
yeah, we'll
Yeah.
just plug that in. But it's Devin Animal, but you can just copy and paste it from the show notes when it's up.
Yes. Okay. And I hope that you all enjoy part two. Um, you'll find it. It's gonna be up. But thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Thanks, Devin, for hanging out with me. And
Yes.
let's get into part two.
Okay.
Bye.